you can. A little positive development on gold,
Yeah.
testing at that 50 period moving average, as well as that old pivot point that we put in a couple of weeks ago, old support back there. What are you seeing in gold here?
You got to like what you're seeing in gold here from a technical perspective. Obviously, everybody in tackle trade knows my fundamental view of gold, given what the central bank is doing, and obviously, the debt burden that's being placed on America. And it's so funny. Today, I saw a headline out of MarketWatch, and the market was like, what was the headline? It was dollar down means markets are up in a unique environment. I'm like, what unique environment are you talking about? Like, that's been the case for years now. So yes, we put more money into the economy, dollar down, market up. That's kind of how it works, MarketWatch. But as we are talking stimulus, and now we are talking 1.88 trillion versus 2.2 trillion, this on the backs of $3 trillion in debt, this year. These are mind-boggling numbers, guys. I mean, think about it. Just 12 years ago, we were debating a $600 to $800 billion stimulus program for the banks during the subprime market crisis. And that was one of the largest bailouts we've ever seen in our history. And now this year, if we do include the $2 trillion in additional stimulus, you're talking well over $6 trillion, not even including what the central bank is doing. It's a mind-boggling number when you actually think about it. And so from a fundamental perspective, nothing has ever changed on gold. Gold is that ultimate, if it dips, buy more. But from a technical perspective, you got to love what you're starting to see here from a technical perspective. And when I said, I've had gold as a complete stay away ever since we violated the 50-day moving average right here. And I remember, getting a few questions in the halftime report, and I was just like, guys, it's going to take gold a while. It's going to take gold a while, could be weeks, for gold to really kind of establish a cleaner and better picture from a technical perspective. But guys, if you want to understand the power of technicals and the power of patience, just go look at Bitcoin in the last few weeks that we've been analyzing Bitcoin a little bit more aggressively in the halftime report. Look at Bitcoin today. I said 2 weeks ago in Bitcoin, as it was hovering on this and broke out, I said, Bitcoin has never had a better technical scenario than it is today. Wait for that technical setup to occur, and then look what happens when you're in it when you're in a proper technical position. Now, coming back to gold here, I'm seeing a little bit of a similar scenario on gold that we saw in Bitcoin very recently. And that kind of saddens me that I put those two into the same sentence, but I did it, so we'll move on. So in terms of this, Tim, you're looking at this as a little bit of a consolidation, increasing support, putting a lot of pressure on that 50-day moving average, which also happens to coincide with the old support right there at about 1920. You got the 50-day moving average right there as well. If you violate that and you close above we'll call it 1937. If you close above 1937 here, you don't have a lot of room, you don't have a lot of resistance there up until about really kind of the 1980 level. That gives you a little bit of a potential pop here to justify the potential risk you'd be taking on gold. I'm looking at gold here, and if we do confirm above that 1937, that's back into a little bit of a more slightly bullish type technical scenario. In that capacity, you would start to see multiple time frame analysis start to line up against one another. I like gold here. It's still premature. Don't want to front run. Wait for confirmation. You're looking at gold in the long term, not in the short term. But in the short term, I do like what we're starting to see here on gold.
I think the price action is definitely very constructive. I love the breakdown. And by the way, let's move on to Bitcoin here next, because you did bring it up, and let's talk about it. You could flash at the dollar if you want. It's down today, back in the same range. I don't really care either. But Matt, this Bitcoin analysis, you've been dead on here. And if you're in the halftime crew, your team tackle, you know this just as we've analyzed this for a couple of weeks. The patience of that resistance playing itself out about a month ago, watching for the technical breakout. And I even threw a question at you the other day. I'm like, hey, do you think that you should be looking at profit taking up as you're approaching these things? And you're like, be patient with big green candles and momentum. So I got to give you a big credit for that one, because you've broken this one down perfectly. What are you seeing here from a technical perspective today? And then we'll get to the news on PayPal.
Well, obviously, the catalyst that happened today was PayPal, right? PayPal come out today and said Venmo was now going to be acting as a Bitcoin wallet, and I'm not certain though, T, but are they going to be doing other cryptocurrency wallets
Yeah, they're
like
actually going to
Ethereum and whatnot?
Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, Litecoin, then they'll add more later, is what they
Yeah,
said. Yeah.
but obviously that news was expected with PayPal for a while, but obviously coming out today gave it a little bit of a upward movement in price on Bitcoin, and it's one of those news events that we have known Venmo was going to do this, right? This is not something that is brand new to the marketplace, but in terms of the technical scenario, why this matters to me is people are going to look at the news and they're going to say, well, the news is the reason Bitcoin's up 7-8% today. No, that's the reason it's up today. But the reason it's up is because of what was happening technically, in my opinion, over the course of the last few weeks. When you had the increase in support, and again, you're going to see a very similar analysis on Bitcoin right now that as you're seeing on gold. Bitcoin obviously front running what's happening on gold in the gold market right now. But you have this increasing in support. Yeah, that horizontal resistance level hugging against those moving averages right there. That breakout right there was very, very clean. And this is when you ask me, is this one of those obvious profit taking moments? And my answer was no. You want to give momentum a little bit of room, let the pattern develop. And then what happened on Bitcoin over the last 4 or 5 days? It's simply consolidated above the resistance channel. That's not a bad thing either. It played defense after the breakout. That gives you a little bit of confidence in the breakout that your analysis was spot on that breakout, on that trade. And you could say that same thing for any trade you're making once it breaks out and plays defense. In fact, Cody, we've talked about this with Cody many times on the halftime report, how he doesn't like that initial breakout. He likes that retest of that support level so that it gives him greater confidence in moving forward. It breaks out, establishes that support level right above that 11,200 level, showing you the defense is happening. The 90 EMA catches up to it. And I can't remember what day I said it, but I said that Bitcoin has never had a better technical situation than it does right now. And what I was talking about was the overall trend pattern, support, resistance, the psychology behind it. Coach Mark has said many times in the halftime report about how he feels Bitcoin has a blow off top potential. Well, Mark, he's getting his blow off top. Now, the question is, do you run with this at this point? And because the actual technical trade was already made. Now the question is, do you want to run with the bulls? Right. Mm-hmm. And that has to be looked at from a probability perspective, return versus risk perspective. And I do see some momentum style traders that would trade the momentum. So outside of pure step system mechanics, no, there's no swing trade here any longer. But if for the very aggressive trader, the momentum trader, they're looking at this $13,000 level right there, a very significant whole number. They're looking at that 13,000 level. They're saying, okay, if we close above 13, we're ready to rock and roll again in this next momentum on the top side. So they're looking at that 13,000 level and they're saying, can we re-trigger after some degree of consolidation? Again, obviously, I'm looking at a 30-minute chart, so I'm not saying that consolidation is over days. I'm saying that consolidation is over minutes. And so in terms of this, can we consolidate and then break out? And then the next question is, if you're going to momentum trade it, where would that stop loss be? And the only stop loss you can place here that would be justified from a return versus risk is right there underneath 12,700, 12,750. The problem with running with the bulls here, chasing the dragon here a little bit, is the fact that you're already up 7-8% on the day. And so you can't expect just the same momentum to transpire. Now, maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, but you can't expect it. To me, the swing trade was already made here. Now the question is, can it set up and hit it again outside of momentum? Momentum traders are looking at 13,000. Every other trader, position traders, they're not caring. They're just saying 14,000. That's what I'm going to wait for. Investors, they're never selling. They're saying 14,000. Who cares about 14? We're going to, 20,000 and 30,000. It's the swing traders I'm talking to. You've already missed out on the trade. You woke up too late. You missed out on the trade. You got to wait for the next one. Momentum day traders are looking at 13,000 right now. everybody is looking at 14,000 as the next stop.
Mm-hmm. Well, and specifically on those longer term charts for position traders, investors, and even for the swing traders alike, just understanding that some of these levels, Matt, they represent
Find
some
me a
pretty
better
clear
weekly
air.
chart than that.
That's beautiful.
Find me a better weekly chart in the market than that potential breakout.
Just it's having quite the day. Yeah. And by the way, I do think the PayPal news, you mentioned it. I think it's big news. I know it was already something we were anticipating in that regard. Adding the other cryptos,
you think it's big news because it's PayPal, Venmo, and Bitcoin.
Well, you can hold your Bitcoin in PayPal. You can shop at any of the 26 million retailers that PayPal takes payments from and just use your Bitcoin. It's a beautiful thing for Bitcoin. These are things that Bitcoin lovers have been calling for years, Matt. And it's like, okay, slowly in development, you start to see them crunch out. And, I like the news. Obviously, it's having a great day for Bitcoin. And as an investor in Bitcoin, obviously I like the price action and the developing pattern on those longer term charts. But thanks for the breakdown. Let's talk earnings here, though. We got to get to